Hello everybody, welcome to the MaffmanJones movie show. I am your host as always, Cesar Romero, and today's featured movie is The Invisible Man. I had an idea to film the entire video and do a voiceover dub over nothing in the background as if to show and represent the idea that I'm invisible the entire time, and my girlfriend said that's stupid, don't do that for the entire video, so that's why I'm going to do this. Gooble gobble, I'm invisible, gooble gobble. Now imagine that for 7 minutes. Yeah, she was right. This movie was directed by Leigh Whannell, and you may recognize that name because he was, and still is, the right-hand man of James Wan. They collaborated together for a number of projects, including the Saw franchise and the Insidious franchise. He made a great movie a couple years ago called Upgrade. Leigh Whannell teamed up with Universal Studios and Blumhouse to attempt to reinvigorate the classic Universal Monsters franchise because it didn't work out with The Mummy with Tom Cruise a couple years ago. Remember that? We have our main character, Elizabeth Moss, who has been under this unfortunate situation of being in an abusive relationship for a number of years with her husband, who is this eccentric billionaire. In an attempt to escape this relationship, this dude kills himself, supposedly. A little while later, while staying with some good friends and trying to recollect herself, things start to happen, and she starts to believe that her dead husband is actually around in an invisible suit, trying to continue the abuse. This movie's been out for a week, and I'm finally getting around to making a review. It's been getting universal praise, no pun intended, for Universal Studios. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that's like one of the best horror movies that's come out in the past few years, but I will say that it was a very interesting idea. If you're going to make an Invisible Man movie, how do you bring him into the modern day world? Leigh Whannell is a capable director, a capable storyteller. He's proven that before, has great acting all around. There are some really terrifying moments in this movie, and for the reasons that you may expect and reasons that you may not expect. A lot of that horror does come from the believable acting, especially from Elizabeth Moss, who just carries this movie all the way through in her trials and tribulations of trying to get people on her side. Yes, it is a social commentary on what has been happening and has had more exposure over the past few years, but it's also a story that people can understand and relate to and believe through the eyes of our main character. Yes, it'll be easier to grab headlines because it does relate to things that have unfortunately transpired to a number of women and people in general. It's a movie about this poor woman trying to get from A to B, and in this case, A to B is being in a very vulnerable, disjointed, unfortunate place to being herself again. And getting to point B is having to go through your supposedly dead husband who's still out there trying to haunt you through psychological abuse. I also really enjoyed the performances from Aldous Hodge and Storm Reed, who play a good friend of Elizabeth Moss's character and his respective daughter. You understand perfectly where they're coming from in their perspective with this woman that they know pretty closely when she's going nuts, when they're supporting her, and then in times when they don't choose to support her because of reasons that I can't spoil here. But the dynamic there it's interesting. There's some cringeworthy humor in between to show how close their friendship is together and how much they know each other. But it brings levity to the movie too, so you can argue that it's fine. I didn't mind it, but some people might not. But for me, it was okay. As I mentioned before, there are a number of terrifying scenes. A couple you're not going to see coming. There's one that everybody's talking about, and you'll know the one when you see it. But just say that I was sitting there with a shock, like a gasp shock on my face, and it doesn't happen often for me. The last time that happened maybe was Jojo Rabbit, where a scene just literally just blew me back because I wasn't ready for that scene to do that. You're expecting one thing from a scene and you get something completely different and transforms into this horrific situation. You're like, whoa, holy crap, that was wild. The movie automatically gets more brownie points in my opinion for just like this one scene alone that you'll know when you know. It is mostly a psychological slow burn, too, in terms of building up to the tension and the situations that are, I guess you would say, scary. But there is some action in here, too, and if you've seen Upgrade, Leigh Whannell has a certain way of moving the camera, and it has a similar feel to James Wan, where, like, the camera will literally follow the movements of characters and sway to their walking and sway to the way that they're moving, and it'll, like, sweep around or go up or down. And I really enjoy the way that Leigh Whannell handles scenes, the way he blocks scenes, the way he shows the trajectory of characters getting from here to there. And it should go without saying, but I think, especially for horror movies, there's so much temptation to want to, I guess, like, plant seeds for the future and plant seeds for a sequel and just give off the idea that there's going to be more of the thing if you like it or not. And this movie doesn't do that. It tells its own story and it ends. And in a weird way, I admire that. More so, it is the comparison to The Mummy 2017, where at every turn and every opportunity, there was a moment that was trying to set up a new movie or a new character or a new whatever. So to see a movie like this do none of that, it was refreshing. Having said all that I've said, I am a big fan of this new Invisible Man movie. Leigh Whannell is one of my favorite directors working today, and I'm glad he's dipping back into his horror roots. Upgrade was a great movie, and it shows that he has a very versatile role as a director, and he has a skill set that is not to be messed with, and I can't wait to see what he does next. But this movie, Invisible Man, it's psychological horror, it's actual tension, it's great acting, it's solid atmosphere, and it's just a well-rounded movie that gives you everything that you really want from this kind of movie. It surprises you, it takes you in places you may or may not expect, but it's entertaining from beginning to end. It's worth seeing in theaters, it's worth watching at home, and it's worth your time. What's more impressive to me is that a movie like The Invisible Man could have been literally just a stalker slasher horror movie that was made for cheap thrills that could have came out at the same time or like in October for Universal and maybe made a decent amount of money, but they decided to do something a lot more interesting, a lot more defying, and just relevant to the times it happens to be. It's a movie that's probably going to endure longer than another version of this movie would have because of all the elements at play here with Leigh Whannell at the director's chair. Luckily, in a business where we get more cheap horror than innovative horror, this happens to fall on the innovative side, and it happens to be a horror blockbuster, which just makes it more awesome. So yeah, quick side story. Remember that Clay Aiken song, Invincible? If I was invincible, I'd make you mine tonight. I used to think it was invisible. And I was younger when it came out, and all I thought about was Clay Aiken being invisible in the corner of some girl or guy's room. Just thank you guys for watching and tuning in to this review. If you enjoyed watching me talk about movies for the past few minutes, you can like this video, you could comment down below, and if you haven't already, subscribe and ring that bell so you'll never miss a video from me ever again. Also, if you want to add to that, you can follow me at any social media, MaffmanJones, all over the place. You know where I be. I'll see you guys very soon. Take care. Have a lovely day or night, however you're watching this, whenever you're watching this. And be careful with the coronavirus out there. It's spreading like wildfire. Face masks don't work apparently, but wash your hands, as you should always be doing anyway. Like, did you not wash your hands before this? Come on now. Come on. Alright, take care. Love y'all. Bye-bye.